Hello everyone, my name is Chen. I am a postdoctoral research fellow from Department of Urban Planning, College of Architecture and Urban Planning, Chongqing University. My topic is power relations in industrial land redevelopment and loss of industrial heritage in Chongqing. My presentation has 5 parts. First, I will talk about background and introduce case study. Then I'll go through the planning process and actors involved very quickly. And last, I will discuss about the power relations, which include political power of local government, economic power of capital investor, and cultural power of the public. China's industrial development begins with the 1840s, when the Nanking Treaty forced eastern coastal cities to serve as port cities. Then, in the 1950s and 1970s, industry continued to develop according to Chinese socialist production policies after 1949. Following the adoption of the market economic practices since the late 1970s, the Chinese cities has experienced radical changes in urban landscape, especially the dramatic transformation of large industrial sites. Obsolete factories are replaced by new industrial zones outside the city limits, and former industrial sites are being converted to new uses, mainly as residential apartments and commercial premises. Chinese cities, especially the inland Chinese cities, are experiencing the disappearance of industrial heritage recently. Ironically, regeneration projects in some industrial lands are often branded as adaptive reuse of industrial heritage, but there are a huge gap between reality and ideals. Here are 2 photos of the Chongqing Special Steel Factory. The top one shows its original appearance in 2011, and the bottom photo shows today's situation. So from these 2 photos, we can see industrial land regeneration has brought about the loss of industrial buildings. So this study aims at identifying the factors influencing the disappearance of industrial heritage in post-reform China through conducting an empirical investigation in the major industrial inland city of Chongqing. The study addresses an aim by posing the research question: what are the factors that have shaped the loss of industrial heritage in the process of brownfield regeneration in Chongqing? Why did I choose Chongqing as a case city? Chongqing is regarded as a representative case of second-tier cities in Western China. Importantly, with its city status, Chongqing is the largest city southwest China and one of the 4 municipalities directly under the Chinese central government. The other 3 cities are Beijing, Shanghai, and Tianjin. Secondly, Chongqing has a long industrialization history and spanned across the whole history of China's industrialization. Why did I choose the Chongqing Steel Factory as a specific case? The Chongqing Steel Factory is selected as a single case due to its industrial historical significance. As the earliest and largest heavy industrial factory in Chongqing, this factory has a cluster of industrial buildings from different periods, ranging from the 1890s to 2000. Since 2006, the Chongqing municipal government launched the Chongqing Steel Factory Relocation and Regeneration Plan to make a way for developing tertiary industry in urban Chongqing. This factory was required to be relocated from the urban to the suburb. There are two photos to show the factory, the appearance of the factory before and after industrial land regeneration. The top photo shows its original appearance in the 1990s, and the bottom photo shows today's situation. So from these two photos, we can see the disappearance of the old industrial buildings, and we can't imagine in today's site. And this site was used to be the largest factory in Chongqing. Here is a framework of the methodology. I did a single case study, and then I collected data from interview, documentary review, and popular press review. The interview is the main data source, and documentary review and popular press review provide complementary data. Then I did a thematic network analysis by using NVivo software and not Excel software. I interviewed people from the Chongqing municipal government and its department, Chongqing Urban Planning Bureau, and Chongqing Bureau of Cultural Relics. I also interviewed the Land Banking Agency, Chongqing Youth Assets Management Corporation, and its sub-company called Chongqing Industrial Museum Corporation. I interviewed people from the state-owned enterprise, Chongqing Steel Corporation, and the design consultants involved, ranging from urban planning to urban design to architecture design consultants. And I also interviewed local experts and finally local artist community. I put the interview data into NVivo software and then not Excel software, and I get this figure. This figure shows the main actors of the Chongqing Steel Factory projects, which include Chongqing Municipal Government, Chongqing Urban Planning Bureau, Chongqing Steel Corporation, and the Land Banking Agency, and design consultants involved. This figure also shows the main interests of the stakeholders and their roles in this project. Here is the organization chart of these main stakeholders. In this page, I'll go through the planning process very quickly. The 2008 Urban Design Proposal was the first translation of the heritage idea. Then in 2009, Land Use Proposal by Chongqing Urban Planning Bureau. They would like to retain and reuse 12 industrial sites. But this proposal was rejected by the Land Banking Agency, Yufu. In the Land Use Proposal by Yufu, they would like to reuse one single site. However, in the final architecture design proposal, this idea of heritage conservation was further reduced because the size of the remaining museum for public exhibition was largely reduced. Here is a figure to show the main factors that have shaped the loss of industrial heritage in the Chongqing Steel Factory regeneration project. The main factors mainly include cultural factor, economic factor, and entrepreneurial governance. And today I will just talk about entrepreneurial nature of power relations, which include three forms of power structures in terms of political, economic, and cultural terms. First is the political power of local government. The Chongqing municipal government served as a driver of the project. The decision to keep and relocate the Chongqing steel factory has been a big economic burden for the Chongqing authorities because the cost of relocating the factory and tackling the placement of laid-off workers was extremely high, up to 40 billion RMB. The practice of land use replacement was adopted, namely, the Chongqing Steel Corporation sold the land parcels to land banking agency to finance factory relocation to new sites in the suburb. Second is about economic power of capital investor. Yufu served as a land banking agency and the capital investor. Established by the government, Yufu has an administrative order of redeveloping the Chongqing Steel Factory. Yufu acquired the industrial land from the Chongqing Steel Corporation and financed around 20 billion RMB in return, which is the main economic pressure of Yufu. Chongqing Steel Corporation served as a land supplier, property owner, and factory removal and relocation operator. This company self-financed around 20 billion RMB for the removal process and construction of the new factory in the suburb, in order to maximize financial return before transferring land use rights. Chongqing Steel Corporation demolished and recycled the old steel from the factory buildings into new uses, rather than leave these industrial properties to the land banking agency. Here are some interview quotes about economic pursuit of capital investor. To cover the investment debt, the capital investor was eager to make a successful property development. Property development, in comparison with heritage conservation, was clearly a much faster way to obtain economic benefits. Here are some interview quotes about potential financial conflicts between heritage conservation and property development. The Chongqing Steel Factory case shows that the heavy industrial heritage has exerted a strong influence on property development in terms of reuse, maintenance, and potential safety issues. Third, regarding the cultural power of the public, grassroots groups with knowledge and concern on industrial heritage conservation were absent in the Chongqing Steel Factory project. These include heritage assessment specialists, ordinary urban residents, and the former workers, local artists communities, and heritage conservationists. Below are two interview quotes about the absence of cultural power of the public. In the last page, I'll talk about the conclusion and discussion. The Chongqing Steel Factory case identifies the categories of the major stakeholders and the form of power structure in political, economic, and cultural terms, as well as entrepreneurial nature of power relations in state-owned industrial land regeneration. Three lessons can be drawn from the failure of the Chongqing Steel Factory case to deliver the original heritage idea. First, regarding political power of local government. The Chongqing Steel Factory case shows us the strong state intervention in industrial land transformation in Chongqing, as demonstrated by its development, direction, and regulation of other key parties. Second, regarding economic power of capital investors. The capital investor, Yufu, with its funding power, played a dominant role in the decision-making process. Third, regarding cultural power of the public. The absence of the grassroots community with concern for industrial heritage conservation in the Chongqing Steel Factory project reveals an imbalanced power distribution in the decision-making process. This paper reveals an unequal power relations between the pro-growth coalition that was shaped by the political power of local government and the economic power of capital investor and the absence of cultural power of the public. And this paper argues that Unequal power relations in industrial land regeneration has led to the loss of industrial heritage in Chongqing. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thank you so much.